I, as Secretary General, Kenya National Union of Teachers, I undertook to direct thorough research studies on CBC rollout and curriculum management in Kenya. And of course, I made the loudest alarm to the country. And I think even media didn't understand it. Media seemed to side with what government was doing, and see everybody seemed to like even things the way they were. Two studies. One was on teacher preparedness for CBC rollout. The research study is still there, the gaps are there, and there were indicators that this curriculum was more foreign driven by foreigners with business interest, because when you change a curriculum, then there is business in consultancy, business in books, business in many things. And this curriculum was supposed to come with a lot of business flagships, which eventually parents complained that they were doing too much in getting materials, in getting what. And then two, the other study was on summative evaluation of CBC when it was piloted by Matiang'i. Very interesting. You pilot a curriculum between the month of October, June 2017 to October, and at the end of October 2017, Matiang'i prepared to roll out the curriculum in 2018 without a pilot report, summative report of the piloting. And when you're piloting a curriculum, you pilot for the whole year. It is something that you do it carefully, and you pilot every stage as you roll out. Even grade 10 should have been piloted before this transition. At the end of grade 9, there should have been a summative evaluation. This is an evaluation. This is a professional process, not a political process. And my voice at that time was construed as militant resistance against what government intended. And remember, when Amina came to Jogo, she was very professional, and she even consulted ministers of other jurisdictions, including the Minister of Education, UK, and we agreed we don't need to hurry and adopt a process that will still have to work back. But what happened to Amina? She was bundled out of Jogo by the same cartel around Matiang'i and around Magoa and the group of interest. And remember, I was viciously fought at NAT, including goons being brought to my office. That's a fact for sure. That I can confess before the Almighty God. And so two things about CBC at that time. It was not rolled out professionally. There were no public consultation, and the professional steps of rolling out a curriculum were not followed. Right. And that led to the midwifing of the most confusing curriculum in this country. Of course, you understand CBC is a good model curriculum that is resource intensive, and it required 265 billion per year. That was the conservatory estimates from the reports of Professor Laban Ayiro. And since nobody listened to us, and when I moved over to Kenya Kwanza, after I resigned from NAT, I resigned on 25th of June 2021 on matters of principle, because I had to leave and seek for a government that would be more accommodating in terms of democratizing education process. When we sat with the president and discussed extensively with teachers and experts, we agreed that there was awfully total confusion in the education sector, and it was not going to be possible to throw out the curriculum. That would have been very political, very catastrophic, and insensitive to learners. The only thing that could be done professionally was to review the curriculum. And indeed, it was in the 5th year. And we agreed when the president signed the Education Charter on 23rd June 2022 at Catholic University, after negotiating with teachers, that then we are going to open a robust public and extensive consultations on CBC without limitation, and the education sector would henceforth be driven by dialogue and consultation. That was the best we could do. To me, professionally, that was the right thing to do. And indeed, when the president was sworn in, the Presidential Working Party was appointed, it swung into action, it engaged the public, the report is there, there is an implementation team, there is an implementation matrix, and the first correctional step was to review the structure of placement of students, because then that is the time when the first KPSEA exam was going to be undertaken. And there were debates whether we should do away with it or not. But we agreed it cannot be done away with. It had to remain as a national evaluation exam. But transition, of course, the secondary schools were being pushed, the current existing secondary schools with dilapidated infrastructure that dates back to the colonial time. Our schools infrastructure.
And this year, this January, we are presiding over the transition from junior school to the first cohort of senior school or secondary school, grade 10. We have enhanced the money for our education from 500 billion shillings to 702 billion shillings this year, because education is important. It is the single biggest empowerment we can give to the young people of our nation. We have hired by this January 100,000 teachers. This January alone, January. In fact, last week and this week, we've hired 24,000 teachers to go to our classes.
Mimi ndio dawa ya Kasongo. Akisikia mimi anahara, ndio ananitumia wakora ya kunipiga. Lakini nyinyi vijana sasa munikinge. Mutanikinga vijana. Mukisikia Rigiji anakuja pahali munajipanga. Hiyo wakora akija munawatoa haraka. Na mimi nimeshukuru kwa watu ya Gatondo. Watu ya Gatondo walishika hiyo wakora, wakawanyang'anya miti ya jembe, wakawachapa na hiyo miti ya jembe. Akina mama walitoka na mapanga wakafukuza hawa. Kwa sababu kama Kasongo anataka kutuangaisha, lazima tujikinge sasa. Katiguo. Tuwekitira kato tukwekitira. Vijana mutanikinga. Mutanikinga. Na mimi nikuambia Kasongo, usinitisha mimi. Mimi ni mtoto ya Mau. Wewe umeenda Nyeri, hakuna mtu unauliza wewe. Uende udanganya watu ya Nyeri urudi. Wewe siku mlikosana na Uhuru Kenyatta, hakukataza wewe kuja hapa Mlimani. Alikukubalia miaka 5 ukakuja hapa kutafuta kura. Bona wewe unanisumbua, nikija hapa kuongea na watu wangu unanitumia mikora na polisi kunipiga. Ashindwe.